All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be checking out a few leaders on the sim. Going to be having a little bit of fun on the sim with the leaders you see on the screen here. So let's just go ahead and dive straight into today's video. Let me give you guys a quick rundown what we're going to be getting into. First things first, we are going to be heading over to the VV lab. We have a game of Hody Jones versus Red Blue Marco. That should be very interesting. After that, we're going to go over and discuss the topic of the day, which is going to be bottom decking as a form of removal. I've got a lot to say about that. We'll see. This might be a spicy topic for some people. We'll see what happens. After that, we're going to head over to the sim. We got 3 games lined up on the sim of one of each of the 3 leaders you see on the screen here, and then we're going to wrap up by checking out the deck list, and I'll give you guys my final thoughts and all that good stuff. Okay, so pretty chill video, pretty straightforward. I'll have everything time-stamped in the general description, and I will have all relevant deck lists and links down in the comment section below. Okay, guys? All right, let's go ahead and do this. Let's get into it. Okay, let's get the leader screen off here, and let's head over to the lab. So for any of the newer players out there, you might be wondering, well, what is the VV lab? What are we doing? So this, in each one of my videos, I try to have that the very beginning of each video dedicated to the very beginning segment is dedicated to a community-submitted game where we kind of review how someone did. It kind of acts as like a miniature coaching session. So if you're interested in me reviewing one of your games, it is very easy to set up, guys. First things first, just record the game, then upload it to YouTube, and then hop on the VV Theory Discord, which the link is in the channel description. Hop on the VV Theory Discord, and I have a channel called Review My Games within the VV Theory Discord, and post the link in there. As soon as I see it, I give it a thumbs up, and you get thrown in line. It's really that easy, guys. It's very basic. So if you're interested in me reviewing one of your games, that's all you have to do. None of that costs money. It's just a very simple, easy process to do that's completely free. And it just kind of, again, it kind of works, like, especially for the newer players. It's intended for newer players, but hey, if you're an intermediate level player and you're just trying to see how well you're doing, by all means, please, no matter what skill level you're at, guys, I don't care if you're a pro player. If you want me to review one of your games, by all means, please put it in, submit it, and we'll check it out. And it's completely anonymous, guys. Notice this: you can't see any names or anything like that. So if you're worried about anonymity, you don't want anyone to know that you've submitted it. No problem. Easy to set up. Okay. So if you have any questions on that, please don't hesitate to ask in the comment section below. Now let's hop into this game. We got a game of Hody Jones versus Red Blue Marco. The volume is off. Speed is on 2x, and quality is up as high as it will go. All right, here we go. Let's do this, guys. Let's get into it. Okay, so it looks like, well, hang on. We already started off. It looks like they clicked record like just a second too late. The Marco is going first here, and they played out an EZO to start, and it looks like they revealed a 3-cost an OP03 Marco, which is the 5-cost 6K Marco that can pop a 3,000 power character or less. So we know that that's coming. We know that's coming as the Hody player, if they saw it. And then the Hody player is going to go first here. They're going second. They're I'm like 1, 2, 3. How many fingers? So the Hody player went second, and on their turn 1 play, they're playing out Cammy, doing a top 5 search, or excuse me, I think maybe it's a top 4 search. I'm not sure. Let me see something. I think it's a top 5, right? No, actually it is. It looks like it's just a top 4 search. Okay, they're going to grab Hyozu, I think the character's name is. And Marco's going to follow up with a 3-Dawn play for Doflamingo. Very nice, setting their top 5 cards. Okay, and they did choose to keep them on top of the deck. Then they're going to swing in for 5. Let's see if we counter out. Give them a 2K counter. That works for me. Yeah, seems good. This game's going very quickly. Okay, so here we go. It looks like we are going to load up for 1 and swing for 6. Or load up for, to swing for 6 with the leader. And then play out the 3-cost character here. I think the character's name is Daruma. I don't play a lot of green, and I definitely don't play a lot of Hody Jones. Not to say it's a bad leader. I just don't play much of it. And I believe that character's name is Daruma. And that is a 3-cost 4,000 power character. It has a Dawn ×1 when attacking once per turn. You have to lose your top life card. It goes to your hand. And then you can stand the character up to attack again in 1 turn. So very, very powerful. However, I should mention that now. For those who are not aware of how Hody Jones, the leader, works, or like what his, what his gimmick is, what his theme is, essentially he has a lot of characters in his deck that cause you to lose a life because the action is so powerful. It's too powerful for that cost character or something like that, right, for the effect. So what ends up happening is, to get that effect off, you have to draw the top card of your life. However, Hody Jones, the leader, can negate that by resting the leader so it doesn't get to attack for the turn, but it gets to rest down, I think it's a 3-cost or less character or a Dawn card to negate that life gain, or that life loss, rather. So really interesting dynamic there, the way it works out. You have these really powerful characters for their stat lines that cost you life whenever they use their effects, unless you choose to rest your leader, not getting that extra attack every turn. So it's actually very, very interesting, at least in that way. Okay, so here we go. Going to swing for, well, the Marco's going to load up for 1, swing for 6. They're going to load a Dawn on their leader, swing for 6. Okay, so that was very interesting. Not having a 5 Dawn play seems a little bit crazy, guys, in the current meta. Like in the way things are in the game currently at the time we're recording this video, not loading up, or excuse me, not loading up, not playing out a character on turn 3 is dangerous. And we know that they have a Marco. That was revealed in the opening search. Hopefully you guys remember me saying that like in the very beginning of this game. That EZO revealed the 5-cost Marco. I would have played that pretty much no matter what. Even if you can only pop the Cammy, it doesn't matter. Like just pop whatever you can, get a body on the board. Establishing a body is one of the most important things in the game of One Piece. This is very much a fight going on at all times for the board. Okay, your characters versus your opponent's characters. Well, guess what? If you're not establishing characters and your opponent is, well, yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. So let's see what happens here. They swung 6 and swung 6. I think we 2K countered out of one of those. And now it looks like we're in, so there's the effect of the leader, guys. Let's go back real quick and look at the leader effect. Okay, so Hody Jones says, activate main, you may rest this leader. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 3 or less, or one of their Dawn. Then, during this turn, you cannot add life cards to your hand through your own effects. Okay, so here we go. They're going to go ahead and use that now to rest down their leader. Resting down the blocker seems good. Now he can swing 2K into the other 2K searcher. And then Daruma's going to come in for 6 and then 6 more. And remember, did not have to lose life in doing that because we used the leader effect to negate that this turn. Okay, really powerful stuff there. And we get down, I think the card's name is Aladdin. Okay, so now, hang on, pause. So we did develop an Aladdin at the end of turn, which is a 5-cost 6K blocker. Very, very solid, right? However, now in the Marco's follow-up turn, they're going to use their leader effect to drop the power of Daruma down to 4,000, or from 4,000 down to 2,000, and they're going to pop it with a 5-cost 6K Marco. Seems good. But again, at the same time, they are very far behind after that last turn, I feel like. So let's see what happens here. They're going to swing for 6. We do have a blocker. We can just block in 1K to get out. Okay, or 2K. We have a 2K, extra 2K in hand. Seems good. I'm going to rest down the 3-cost blocker again. Seems really good. Okay, and we're going to swing into it this time. Very interesting. Going to swing into the blocker this time, trying to get it off the board. And pause. So then they play out a... So the Hody Jones is getting very aggressive here. They even swung with their blocker. And then they developed the 4-cost, I think the card's name is Hyozu. And then the 2-cost guy, it's a 2-cost 2,000 power blocker on the far right. I don't actually remember what the name is. Okay, so let's see how Marco decides to answer back. Okay, with a Rayleigh, that seems pretty good. Getting rid of the Hyozu, going 6,000 now into the reduced 4,000 power Aladdin. Let's see what happens here. Maybe give the block. Okay, actually, they still had an attack left. I do like countering out. Definitely like that. Swing 5 into it. Maybe this is where they just decided not to use the blocker because, hey, guess what? The Aladdin card can play out a card from hand, right? It has the on KO to play out a card. Okay. Now they're going to follow up with an EZO, and let's see what happens here. So they no longer have Dawn open. Okay, they do not have any Dawn open here to do like a Radical Beam or something like that. Cammy's coming in for 6. Okay, we're getting super aggressive here. I like this. I like this. Okay, going to swing in for 7 with that with the other character. I can't remember the name of the 3-cost character there. And then play out the Aladdin. And here we go. So we have 2 blockers. We actually have 2 blockers. And we have Hody Jones in hand. So this is actually looking very scary for the Marco. So the EZO swings into the Cammy. Who cares? Don't care at all. And we have 3 life. We can actually take all 3 of these hits. Swing for 7? Sure. Swing for 7? Okay, they're going to use a blocker. That's probably the safe thing to do there. Swing for 7, swing for 8. We're going to take all of this. We get a trigger. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant to the situation here. We top deck another Hody Jones, and we're coming in for 7, 6, 7. We probably should have done 7, 7, 6, or 6, 7. I don't know. Anyway, so we messed up a little bit with the... whoops, let's go back. Let me pause right here. It seems like we messed up just a tiny bit with the sequencing there, but maybe not. Maybe we couldn't really get around that. I'm trying to think the only way we could have played around that. Let's go back real quick. Okay, they have 1 life left. So yeah, I don't think we could have played around it, actually. So swinging 7, I definitely agree with there. Because just in case they have like a Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, well, I guess then it could have taken out the blocker either way. So it's kind of hard to say. It's kind of hard to say here. Because I think Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, the trigger can hit a 5 or less. Okay, and it bottom decks the character. So we swing for 7, they take it. Swing for 6 here. Swing for 7, swing for 8, and they were not able to get out of that. Very nice. Let's go to the you win. There we go. Perfect. And they had a Rad Beam in hand. However, oh, let me see something. Did we miss something when they played out the Hody Jones? Hang on 1 second. So they swung in here. Okay, they swing. Here we go. Boom. Look at this. So the opponent had 1 Dawn left over to keep the Radical Beam up. However, if you're playing against Hody Jones, number 1, if you're playing against even just the leader, Hody Jones, right? I was going to say a green deck that has Hody Jones in it is how I should have said that. But if you're playing against Hody Jones, this guy could have literally just rested that card down with the leader if he needed to. But he didn't because he had Hody Jones in hand. So it's like, okay, I'll just rest it with the character's effect, and we'll just go everything at face. So you got to really look out for that, guys. If you're trying to keep 1 Dawn active against a green player currently, you better keep at least that many plus 2, right? So if you need 1 Dawn active, well, I guess you need 3 Dawn active, or the Hody Jones can rest down all your Dawn, right? But against Hody Jones, the character here, or excuse me, the leader, you're going to have to leave however much Dawn you need active plus 3 because the leader can rest a Dawn, and then the Hody Jones character can rest 2 Dawn. So really, really powerful stuff there. You got to watch out for that. Okay, that was a great game. Great submission there. Red Blue Marco versus Hody Jones. Not a matchup I think you see very often, but really cool stuff there. Okay, y'all give me just a second to get set up real quick, guys. Go ahead and hop over to here. We got to talk about the topic of the day. Okay, I'm getting a little bit faster with this. All right. Whoops, I don't want to be on this screen. We'll go to this one. We got to talk a little bit about cards that are banned as well. Don't worry, we're going to get to that in just a moment. All right. No new bans, no new bans, guys. Don't worry, it's nothing crazy like that. But it's still stuff that we do have to talk about a little bit. Okay. Okay, come on, camera, get right. That's good enough. So, topic of the day: bottom decking as a form of removal. So this was actually one of my really big complaints when I first got into this game. I thought it was a little bit too powerful. So let's talk about some of the ways characters can be removed in this game. KO. Right, and that applies to battle as well, right? If you battle into your opponent's character and you have matching or more power, it KOs the character. It acts as a KO effect. Right? Well, it's not a KO effect, but it acts as KO as removal. Okay. Then we have trashing characters in no particular order. So KO, trashing, bouncing characters back to their hands, you know, to the owner's hands, bouncing to the owner's life, and then there might be 1 or 2 others I'm not thinking of, but then there's bottom decking. So I think. Let me say this right now. I do think that every one of those are very valid, even bottom decking. But I think that bottom decking was used a little bit too loosely at the beginning of the game. Now, real quick, let's talk about everything up front. Disclaimer, we are not using this section of the video to complain. We're just trying to brainstorm and talk about potential design flaws that have come up over the course of the game's development, right? Over the course of the game, you know, evolving and becoming more powerful and seeing new cards enter into the game, seeing new colors enter into the game. Because guys, remember, black and yellow were not in the original part of the game. It was literally just red, green, blue, and purple in OP01. And then in OP02, they added black, and in OP03, they added yellow. So we do have to talk about like how well Bandai's doing in general when it comes to the game design. But one thing I want to absolutely stress, like I cannot stress it enough every time we do these topic of the day portions of the video, I don't ever want this to be seen as like me complaining or anything like that. We're just going to be talking about like some things that maybe they could work on going forward, or some potential snags they might run into, and hopefully they can avoid, right, moving forward. So now back to the topic of the day being bottom decking. I do not think it is a coincidence that the 2 banned leaders in the game currently both use bottom decking very effectively. So who are they? Let's talk about those real quick. That was what I was bringing up over here with the banned and restricted cards. Again, didn't mean to scare anybody. There's no new bans, okay? But Trafalgar Law, excuse me, this is a leader. Let me see if I can zoom in and you guys can read it a little bit better. Okay, so pause and read this if you need to, but I will read it out loud real quickly. Activate main once per turn. Return 3 Dawn cards to your Dawn deck. Place up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. That's bottom decking as a form of removal. And play up to one character card with the cost of 4 or less from your hand. The second part's very good as well. But bottom decking characters and doing that in the same single action was very, very powerful. Now, going down a little bit further, we get to Sakazuki. Okay, let's pause. These are the same card, by the way. One's just an alt art and the other's not. Okay, these are both the exact same cards, just, again, one is an alt art. So, activate main, once per turn, trashing a card to draw a card, and then when attacking, -1 to the cost. Now, with Sakazuki, I think he was a little more... I don't think this leader effect was, like, absolutely busted or anything like that, but I do think it should have been treated in the same way as Perona was treated, where it's like, okay, once per turn, activate main, choose one. Instead of when attacking, -1 cost, I think it should have been, activate main, -1 cost, or activate main, draw one, trash one, draw one. You get to choose one per turn. That's how I think they should have dealt with Sakazuki. However, I don't even think that was the biggest problem with Sakazuki. I actually think that this card in particular was the bigger problem for Sakazuki. Because, guys, there would be points in the game, excuse me, there were 2 major points in any game. Back when Sakazuki was doing very well, there were 2 major points. There were probably more than that, but the 2 major points that jump back in my mind from back then that I can remember was early on, this card was so good with the leader that it basically just said remove any character from the board early on. Because notice what the card does, okay? Let's pause and read this for a second. 2 cost. Event, Navy searchable. Main, up to one of your leaders or characters gains plus 3,000 power during this turn. That alone is already very good because you're paying 2 and you're getting 3,000 power. Okay, that is already very good. Then, place a character with a cost of 2 or less at the bottom of its owner's deck. And the trigger can bounce a 3 cost or less character to the owner's hand. Not bottom deck, but to the hand, which is actually very relevant because it can bounce your characters back to your hand, like searchers that you want to reuse. So, this card, guys, this card in particular is what really, it really opened up my eyes to how powerful bottom decking was as an effect. And of course, cards that came before it, like 3,000 Worlds, I think it kind of came like one after another, because, like, watch this, guys. Okay, OP03, 3,000 Worlds, bottom decking a 5 or less. OP04, Gum Gum Red Rock, bottom decking any character in the game, right? Then OP05, Houndblaze, bottom decking a 2 or less, but we'll talk more about this card in a minute. And then OP06, Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, bottom decking. And it was just like, it was set after set after set. They just introduced more and more bottom decking into the game. And then back in OP01, of course, they had this guy here, Draco Mihawk. Okay, did they have an OP02 one? Maybe they didn't, I just didn't look it up. Oh, well, we're not going to worry about that. The point is this. So I think that bottom decking as a form of removal should exist in the game, but I think it should be reserved for absolutely the most powerful effects in the game or most powerful characters. So I should have said most powerful events in the game or the most powerful characters. Like Mihawk, I think is very, very well designed. I think that was an excellent design choice, bottom decking a card, because Mihawk, this is the 9-cost version of Mihawk. He's that guy, right? Mihawk's him. He knows he's very powerful, and he's bottom decking a card. I actually think that this card right here would have also been better as a bottom deck effect. Now, I understand that they wanted this to have a utility where you can bounce up to one of your opponent's characters that maybe is an 8 or less, and then you could maybe bounce one of your characters that's a 3 or less, so you can reuse it. However, I do think this card actually should have been a bottom deck flavor card, whereas Borsalino, I don't know if he should have been. And I know some people might say that this card was fine. That's fine. I won't argue too much about this card. However, I do want to say this real quick, guys, that any type of very, very cheap bottom decking, like in the form of Houndblaze, very dangerous. I think this was a very dangerous decision. And I want to really stress the difference between KOing someone and bottom decking them. Or not even just KOing and bottom decking are very obvious differences, but they're actually, they might go a little deeper than you think, because of how trash recursion works. However, even just something like bottom decking versus bouncing to hand is insanely different, okay? And this is a good example here of Trafalgar Law. This card bounces a card to the opponent's hand, or back to their hand. Let me say something real quick, guys. For any of the newer players, what do I mean when I say bounce? Bouncing is referring to pushing a card back to the opponent, right? So, for example, this character, see how it says return up to 1 cost 4 lower character to its owner's hand? That is what a lot of TCG players refer to as bouncing a character. So you're bouncing the character back to their hand. Whereas this card, it doesn't bounce the character back to their hand, it bounces it to the bottom of the deck. But some people just call it bottom decking. Okay, I do want to just make sure people understand the difference. And the same thing with, like, let me just bring up Katakuri real quick. This is a card that bounces to life. Okay, this card put up to 1 character with a cost of 8 or less on the top or bottom of its owner's life area face up. So there are really 3 major bounce cards in this game. 1 bounces back to hand, 1 bounces to the bottom of the deck, and the other bounces to the top or bottom of life. Okay, so that's like the real major differences when you're talking about bouncing characters within One Piece. And most people, most people do understand that, but I know some of the newer players, I want to make sure they understood what was going on there. Okay, so now back to what we were saying. I personally think that bottom decking is slightly too strong of a form of removal, and I think it should be reserved for characters that cost 8 and up. Like, for example, Mihawk being a 9-cost character, and Kaido, like I said, I actually think this card should have bottom decked. Even though that would take away some of the utility from the card, oh well, just make it that much more powerful, whereas bottom decking cards, it's like, boom, those 2 cards are gone. And the same thing with Mihawk, just bottom decking a card. But when you start getting some of the cheaper cards in the game, like even going to Borsalino, which is just 2 Dawn under Mihawk, that 2 Dawn is an entire turn's worth of difference, right? Like your 7 Dawn turn versus your 9 Dawn turn is a massive difference. Because even if you're on your 8 Dawn turn versus your 10 Dawn turn, you can play Borsalino on that turn 4 no matter what, right? Whereas Mihawk is an entire turn after that. And we're not talking about decks that ramp. That adds a whole nother complication, a whole nother dynamic to the equation. Okay, so with everything going on here, I just want to say that I think Red Rock, out of all of these cards I think should have had bottom decking, I think it was Red Rock, Mihawk, and Kaido. And this is the tough one. I will say, since this is an event, I think I'm okay with Gravity Blade Raging Tiger bottom decking because of what it's meant to do. But this is still very, very powerful, guys. Like, this card, is this something that Blue needs? And of course, whenever we're talking about these topics of the day, is this good for the long-term health of the game? And I think a lot of people would say yes. I think a lot of people would argue, yes, this is very good. Like this card in particular, the event, is very good for the game. However, I have to do some pushback, right? We do have to try to think a little bit critically here. I think the bottom decking is a little too powerful. So going back to what we were saying about KOing versus bottom decking, or KOing versus bouncing, when you KO a character, it does remove it from the field. However, there are cards in this game that can pull cards from the trash. So even though you might KO a card, right? You might KO a character or trash a character. That's a whole other form of removal, right? Trashing. If you get a character into the trash by whatever means happens, even just making them discard cards from their hand, well, that can be reused. And I do think that that is fair. I actually think that is fair and balanced because, and I think that maybe going forward, there should be a few interactions or maybe a few different types like Thriller Bark, no matter what color you're in. Maybe they should have some access to the trash. And I've argued against that before. I know some people might be thinking like, oh, that's like a double standard or like hypocritical or something, right? Because of what I said about Gecko Moria. Let's bring that card up real quick. I have complained about this card maybe being in the wrong color. Like it seems like a black effect. But at the same time, I think it would have been kind of cool for Blue to have Thriller Bark themed cards that could pull events out of the trash, kind of like how Miss All Sunday is. Let me bring that up for those who don't know. There we go. It's locking up on me. This card right here, pause and read this. This is now it's locked to Baroque leaders only. Oh, yeah, oh well. But it can return up to 1 event from your trash to your hand. That is a really cool form of recursion that I think Blue could have had. Like, I think Black maybe should have been limited to characters only that it could return from the trash, and Blue maybe should have been reserved to events only that it could return from the trash. And I know some people are probably like, yeah, but that would have broken Nami. We've already kind of talked about Nami. I understand that presents so many complications for a design team. They were very bold in printing that card, guys. I have to say Bandai or Cardass, which is the company that I think that designs the game, they were very bold in printing Nami the way they did because it limits so much future design space. Because now, cards like Kaya, they have to be monitored so closely. Blue pretty much can never have a draw 2, trash 2 again because of how powerful it is in the hands of decks that it was not potentially meant for, right? Kaya being one of those. And speaking of which, who knows? Maybe this should have been a black card effect. Maybe this should have been, like, maybe the draw 2, trash 2, you know, phrasing, maybe that should have been something very exclusive to the black card pool, like how Sabo is, how Anupe is. And maybe blue should have been more like draw 2 and then bottom deck the 2 cards, which would, I guess, that would be thematically accurate if that's what they're doing with cards anyway, right? They're bottom decking cards as a form of removal with some of their effects. But who knows? I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole because which color should have which for the, you know, how does that apply to each color? How does the card draw or card cycle apply to each color? That would be really confusing, but who knows? Actually, maybe not. Hang on. We're gonna do a little more brainstorming before we move on. I guess green could rest characters to draw cards, which we've seen in You Can Be My Samurai. Red maybe would have to attack or something to draw a card. That'd be kind of cool. But who knows? Purple, Dawn minus, you know, so there are definitely ways to kind of mess around with it. But long story short, let's get back. Let's stay on focus here. Stay on the topic of the day. I can go on these rabbit holes all day. Hopefully you guys, I'm sure you guys know that by now. But anyway, so let's go right back into bottom decking as a form of removal. And what I was saying earlier was I don't think it is a coincidence that the 2 best decks we've ever seen in the game, at least since Newgate was just a little too far ahead of its time, and that's why we can still play Newgate today and it's not broken anymore or anything like that. I think it was just a little too far ahead of its time. It had to wait for other colors to catch up to balance it out. But Blue Black Sakazuki and Red Purple Law both were abusing bottom decking. I don't want to say they were abusing it, they were just using it. They were using bottom decking to their advantage to just get around any type of card like Borsalino. Like there might have been cards, or Sabo, there might have been cards in the game that could have really slowed those decks down, but they couldn't because they could just get bottom decks. Like, you know, cards that could not be KO'd. Okay, well, I'll just bottom deck it. So that I think, like I said, I do not think it is a coincidence that Red Purple Law and Blue Black Sakazuki were banned, and they were as strong as they were because they had access to such cheap, powerful bottom deck removal. I think that is a very common, you know, I think that is the greatest common denominator between them. That shows like how powerful they were and what made them so powerful. There were other things as well, right? They were able to fill out the board. They were able to abuse well, Black was able to abuse the trash with cards like Rebecca and later Gecko Moria. And then, of course, Red Purple Law was able to just cheat cards from their hand. And they also had insane card draw with cards like Queen, cards like Reiju. It just went out of control. So just this infinite resources, right? They were able to generate these infinite resources, fill up the board very effectively while bottom decking any threat that got in their way. It was crazy, right? It was really, and I'm not trying to complain. I'm just saying like they was so powerful. And I think that is a result of a card like Houndblaze, and because of a result like Red Purple Law's bottom decking effect that really pushed them to that point. Now, how would I fix it going forward? So whenever we have these topic of the days and I try to draw attention to something that I see as a potential issue, I do at least want to try to end off the segment, you know, the topic of the day segment with how I would fix it personally. I have mentioned this before. I'll try to link the video. If I remember, guys, I'll link the video in the comment section. But I've come up with an entire idea for how colors I think should have been balanced as far as removal goes. And I think red, now this is just my own personal opinion, guys. I think red should have been no KO removal where it's like, oh yeah, like power-based removal is okay on bodies. I'm okay with it being like on Edward Newgate or Pell or something like that, or Nico Robin. But I think that red's removal should have really been largely based on like buffing your character and then giving him the ability to attack into an active character on the board. I think that should have been how red deals with characters, because they have rush. So imagine if they had an event that was like a 2-cost event like Houndblaze that allowed you to attack into a character, or maybe make it like a 3 or 4 cost. I'm not saying it the exact perfect card. I'm just giving ideas. So I think red should have had to battle into other characters, and they should have had a few characters that were made, or a few events that were made to give to characters that allowed them to attack into active characters. So it's more of a soft form of removal, right? Because if you attack into my character for, like, say I'm a 6,000 power character and you attack him for 8, well, I actually can just counter your removal in that case, right? I could go 2k, 1k to get out of it. So it's a soft form of removal. I think green should have been not KO rested characters, just the ability to rest characters and to keep rested characters locked down. That part I think is great. I just don't like how they went into the green having the ability to KO rested characters. That's where I kind of think that they're leaving the, you know, the theme a little bit too much there. And who knows, maybe that was meant more for certain, you know, certain interactions like with the Thriller Bark stuff and the Navy stuff, but we'll have to see how that pans out. Then going into purple, I don't have a, you know, that I think should have, I think that should have also been soft removal, where instead of red being able to buff characters, they gave red the ability to buff characters and manipulate Dawn like that, and they gave it the ability to reduce characters' power. I think power reduction should have been kind of saved for purple. I think they had a card called Hydra. Let me see something real quick. I think it was called Hydra. Whoops, didn't spell that right. There we go. Dawn -1. Yeah, and just like Hell's Judgment. Like, I think that the power reduction probably should have been reserved for purple. So that way, man, if like, I think it should have been made into the point where it's like, okay, you're going to be scared to drop or to attack with your character because you know purple's going to have some kind of way to reduce their power and easily KO it. They could have built that into characters and things like that. Moving over into blue. I think I went out of order there. It should have been red, green, blue, purple, but I did red, green, purple. Going into blue. I actually think that blue should have had a removal that looks like this. Bounce to hand. Same thing with Trafalgar Law. Bouncing to hand. Now, I've had other issues with Trafalgar Law. That's kind of more... it's not even issues. I just think that this card... Being a 4 cost that can bounce a 4 cost, that seems a little strong. Not complaining. I'm just saying it seems a little strong, and I get why it's in the game. But I think that this card in particular, being able to bounce characters, is a good example of what I think removal should be for blue, not the bottom decking specifically. However, I do want to say one more thing about that. I'm okay if they print bottom decking on a large card, like a large cost, like 6. 4 would have to be the lowest that I could go, and it only hits half the field, right, being a 5 or less. I guess that's probably fine. And the fact that it's on an event, I think that does balance it in some ways. But when you start putting bottom decking on characters, I think it should have been reserved for like the 8, 9, and 10 cost characters, like the Mihawks, like the Kaidos. Unless you wanted to bottom deck like a 1 or 2 cost character where it's like really low in value. You know, where you have to combo it with something else, like maybe go into the black card pool and combo with Ice Age. Okay, and then with the black cards, I actually think that they should have been the color that KOs, and that's pretty much what it is. Trashing is a little bit like, that's like their super removal, right? Like how blue has bottom decking as their super removal, black has like trashing as their super removal that gets around a lot of evasion. And then last but not least, or even on KO effects and stuff like that. But then last but not least, yellow, I think they should have been pushing cards to life. That's just my personal opinion, guys. This was just my personal opinion at this part. But I do think that in general, generally speaking, I'm okay with bottom decking existing. But I do think they need to be very careful going forward, printing it on these really cheaper cards. Okay? All right, that was fun. You guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. And I understand, guys, we're just brainstorming. We're just talking. We're just getting our thoughts out, seeing where everybody stands on certain topics. So don't think like, oh, you know, all I do is complain now with these topics of the day. That is not what these are intended for. I really enjoy One Piece. I still play it like every single day, right? I mean, I put out a video every single day still. So don't get the wrong impression from this. I really want to know what you guys think about it. How healthy is, this is how we should pretty much end every single one of these topics of the day. How healthy is this for the game, whatever that topic is? So bottom decking, how do you guys think it should be? Is it healthy for the game? What are some other ideas you might have in, you know, in that area? And tell me what you guys think. All right, good stuff. Let's move on. We got 3 games to knock out on the sim real quick. Let me go ahead and bring that up right here, and then I'll go ahead and move this. And here we go, guys. We've got some games. We've got some games on the sim today. We've got some fun ones here. Nothing too crazy, by the way. Just a few games. Oops, there we go. Okay. All right, here we go. Volume is off. The speed is on 2x, and we're off to the races here. First game up we have against Ace. We got red Ace, not blue-yellow, but red Ace versus purple Kaido. And I have to say, I have to admit, guys, that new 7-cost King card is quickly becoming one of my favorite cards in purple. So we're going to do the event searcher here. Excuse me. Notice I am running some Big Mom Pirate stuff with that new event searcher. It's actually really nice because I can search up puddings to help fix my early dawn. But this game, I already have the stage, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so swing 5. Now, Ace got a pretty good start, guys. Double Ezo start, but we've got a pretty good start as well. We're going to play out the stage here, ramp a Dawn, say, go, do your worst. Swinging for 5 there. I wanted to take 1 hit. I'm going to counter out of the other, so we 2K counter out of that. We had double Black Maria anyway in hand. We're ramping Dawn like crazy right now. We're going to swing for 6. We're going to develop a blocker here with the Queen. Draw 2, trash 1. Probably get rid of one of these Albers. I think his name is, or Arbor, not sure what it is. Okay. Which that card was okay. I'll try to remember to talk about that later. It didn't really do too much for me in the games we're playing here. But here we go. I am going to be on 8 Dawn next turn. So, oh, look at that. Got another of the 7 cost guy. Seems good. We're going to play it out, and we're going to smash in. We're going to smash in for 6. Now, let's pause real quick and talk about what's going on here. Notice I have not played, or excuse me, I have not used my Leader's Effect, not even one time. I've seen so many people play Kaido on the sim to a less than optimal way. Let me say that very politically correct, very, very nicely. I think that Kaido's effect should be reserved for when you're going for lethal. And I know that, I know that's not great, right? That's not great because now you're not getting a ton of value from his effect over the course of the game. But guys, if you're ramping up really quickly, why not just play some massive characters that your opponent can barely ever deal with? Like, just ramp up and get these massive characters down, and then when you're ready to go for lethal after you've been bullying the board the entire turn, or the entire time with these massive characters, then you can start smashing into your opponent's life with your Leader's Effect. And if you can establish a Black Maria when you're already on 10 Dawn, think about that. Like, say you play out Arbol here. Say you play out this guy, or not Arbol, King. Say you play out King here, Dawn -1, go down to 9, right? We'll go back up to 10 with Onigashima, the stage. Then play out the Black Maria, after you do all your attacking, use the Leader Effect to drop them down, a life, and then return 5 Dawn. And then you're right back up to, what would it be? It's -7 plus 5, so you'd be up to 8 Dawn in that situation. And now you're going to be at 10 on the next turn. And if they cannot get rid of that Black Maria, well, now you're really cooking. Right now you're really cooking. Okay, now back to the game. So we have an 8,000 power body on the board. That King card is very nice for this leader, guys. Because real quick, okay, one more thing. 7 Dawn, right? Oh, interesting. My Leader Effect is Dawn -7. Very cool. And I also have a card, a character that's cost 7 Dawn. Perfect. That's kind of, I know you do have to do a Dawn -1 to get the effect off. But guys, that is pretty much a match made in heaven. So let's see what happens here. Okay, he does. Wow, very interesting. So pause. We do have to talk about that play. They chose to pop my blocker and go double attack at face with Flame Emperor. With a Flame Emperor. That was a interesting play there, guys, because I'm at 3 life. It's not like I'm at 2 life where I'm about to go down to 0, where I'm in a lot of trouble. I'm actually I'm still at 3 life. So if they come in for double attack here, I'm still pretty safe, all things considered. So let's see what happens here. Okay, so they're going to swing in for 10 here. I'm going to take this. I get the event. We're going to do a top search, and I find that's another card very nice to search up with the 1-cost event. Very good. We're on 10 Dawn. Let's see what happens, guys. Let's see what happens. We'll go 6 into this guy. Let's see if he has anything to... He doesn't even want to save it at all. Didn't want to save it not even one time, so we'll swing in for 8 at face. We'll play this card right here out, the Lin, and guess what? I'm going to gain a life, and then I'm going to ramp a Dawn back up to 10. I probably could have tried to smash their one of their life cards there, but I'm just not in any rush. Hey, no pun intended, right? Because I've got 2 rush cards in my hand. Okay, so they're going to swing for 5 into 5 here because of the ace. But guess what? I'm telling this guy, you have messed up, dude. You have messed up because I'm actually going to counter out of every single one of these attacks. And here we go. So let's see what this deck can do. Pause. What do y'all think my play is going to be? Pause. Check out my hand. I've got 2 7-cost kings. I've got a Blast Breath. I've got the stage, or excuse me, the event. But I've got an 8K, a 9K leader attack, leader effect, and they only have 2 life. They don't have any Dawn active, so they can't Rad Beam. They can't do anything special like that. So what do you think I'm going to do here? Let's see. Let's find out. Okay, so I'll give you a hint. I'm probably not going to go for the board, right? So watch this. I'm going to swing for 7 with my leader. Okay? Smash in for 7. He's going to take it. Now watch this, guys. A little bit of fun here. Okay, we're waiting for an event for a trigger. He did not have one. Play out King. Well, I guess that's 7 Dawn that I don't need anymore for this turn. So you better believe you know what I'm going to do next. Leader effect, there goes your last life card, and I still have an 8k, 8k, 9k attack coming in, and that's game. And it's not, I mean, they're, number one, they had no cards in hand. But let's just say every card in their hand was a 2k counter. If they would have needed every single card in their hand to be a 2k counter to survive this attack. And I mean literally every card, right? Because, okay, if I swing for 8 with King, that's going to be 2 cards out of hand, 2k, 2k. If I swing for 8 with the other King, that's 2 more cards from hand. Now they're up to 4. And they have 7 cards in hand. Then I have a 9k attack. It'll have to be a 2k, 2k, and then it could be a 1k. So they would have needed, what is that? Got to take all my fingers out here and count real quick, guys. That would have been 6 2k counters and a 1k counter in hand just to survive this attack right here. That's tough to do, guys. That's tough to do. Okay, let's keep going. Purple Kaido. What's next? We'll do Bello Betty next. Okay, there we go. Got a game versus Nami. Well, guys, if you don't like the Nami matchup, let me say this right now. If you do not like playing against Nami, Bello Betty might be your new go-to deck. I mean, guys, it is a brutal aggro deck, and it is just a little bit too fast for Nami most of the time. Nami can, of course, still beat Bello Betty. Any deck, pretty much any deck can beat any deck at some point. Even if it's just 1 times out of 100, there's always going to be some kind of possibility, right? However, in this situation here, guys, so watch this. I'm going to play out the 4-cost Ivankov, cheat out the Lindbergh. I'm not ready to attack yet. I want to fill up my board first. They're going to sign just pull off, and it's about time to start pulling on these attacks. Here we go, guys. Going to swing in for 7, popping the Kaya. You're not getting that card back with a Snake Dance. It's not happening, but they did do a Giant Gavel there. I believe, yeah, they used a Giant Gavel to get out of that. Okay, no problem. We'll go -1 on them here, and now we can attack a little bit. I've got a lot of options here. Let's see what I choose to do. I'm debating. I was like, no, I'm not going to use the effect yet for the Ivankov. We'll swing 5. He does the Desert Spotted to get to 6 because he has -1,000 power for the turn. He has no Dawn left. What are we doing here? Oh, man, here we go. Okay, so I do it a little bit late, so there was some sequencing issues there. I should have done that a little bit better if that's what I was trying to do, but it kind of came down to like, oh, wait a minute, are you going to not, you know, you're going to counter out the way you did, so then I decided to pull the trigger a little bit late on that. So I 1k counter out of the 5k attack and a 5. Zeph, they're going to bounce my Searcher back to hand. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. We'll go ahead and search up another Karasu, and we'll just replace the Searcher right away. Guys, that was disastrous, right? That was absolutely disastrous. We're going to play him out. I do want to get rid of the Zeph. I will say that right now. I'm trying to determine how I want to do this turn. I do want to get rid of Zeph. I do not think we should let him stay on the board. Okay, so now I think we're going to trash the Imperial Ivankov. And here we go. It's going to be 8 into 4. It's going to be 8 into 3. And now it's going to be 9 into 3. Or 8 more into 3. And they just give up. Or actually, was that it? Hang on. Could they knock it out of that? Hang on 1 second, guys. Okay, so right here. 8 and 8. Pause. Okay, so they had 2 Dawn left. Yeah, I think they could have... Yeah, they could have gotten out of it, but here's what it would have cost them. They would have had a Rubber Band of Doom, and Kaya. Because, guys, that was 8 into 3. So they had to get 5,000 over. So they could have gone 6,000, excuse me. They'd had to get 6,000 over, right? They'd had to get all the way to 9. Absolutely brutal at that point, guys. And look at my board. Even if they were able to get rid of one of my Karasus, which is what they should have done, right? On the next turn, they should have loaded 2 Dawn on their leader, swung 7 into my Karasu. Guess what? I'm going to play out another cross with the following turn, and you're getting 6 more attacks coming across, you know, on the next turn just for tons and tons of damage. Really tough to deal with, but guys, if you don't like the Nami matchup very much, Bello Betty has a very good matchup into Nami. Okay, we got one more game, guys. We got a game of Katakuri. Got to give a shout out to my one of my local buddies, Richard. We're using his list for Katakuri, guys, and he's like one of those diehard Katakuri players, diehard like Katakuri enthusiasts. Not to say he doesn't play other decks, but he does like Katakuri quite a bit. And here we go. I get a really nice start going second. Double turn 1 pudding. We'll take it every time. I've got 10 Lin, double 7 Lin. He swings in for 6 with Banish. You're getting a 2K. You know, congratulations. You are definitely getting that 2K. And it's like, oh, okay, you want to do some Banish, huh? 2 can play at that game. We'll swing in for 8K here with Banish. Let's see if he wants to take this or not. I think he should just let it go. Okay, 0 cost 3K and a 1K. Not me, guys. I would have taken that and said, sure, why not? Especially if you have Luffy in the deck where you need to go down to 2 anyway. I use my 2K counter. Remember, guys, I did see that there. I have a Nami on top of life. I'm going to keep that there. We're going to swing for 7. Look at their life. It's a Gadatsu. I'm going to move Gadatsu to the bottom of the deck. I'm not scared of them to draw the card. I just want to make sure that their bottom life card is not a you're the one who should disappear, a Frankie, or something like that. Okay, we're going to play out the Nami. We're going to pop the Luffy, and I'm just trying to keep the board. I'm trying to keep tempo. I'm trying to keep pressure on. He's going to banish for 8 this time. Okay, and we know what it is. It's a Nami. We're fine with that going away. That's not really crucial to our game plan. They have nothing on the board we need to worry about, so we let it go. We're going to swing for 7. Look at their top life. Oh, wait, what's this? Another Gadatsu. So now I know. Okay, and then they took the hit, no trigger. Their last 2 life are Gadatsus. There goes one of them, and now their last life is Gadatsu. Okay, we have an 8,000 power body on the board. Okay, I'm probably going to take this. Probably going to just take this. But at the same time, it wouldn't have been too scary to let them have a life because my board is becoming very, very, very large, right? Okay, let's see how we want to do this. We're going to swing for 5. 5 into 5 here. This is going to force a card or it's going to get rid of that Gadatsu that we know is in their life. Okay, there we go. We know what they drew as a Gadatsu. They trash it, so we don't know what their last card is. We're going to trash their last life card with the Leyland. It was a beige, okay? And now we're swinging in for 8. They're going to have to give us a blocker here. Okay. They just surrender. I completely understand. I completely get it. Because look at my board, guys. Number 1, I have 2, 4, 5K counter in hand. So even if they try to go into my Lin, if they go for my Nami, I'll just let it go. I don't care about the Nami. Unless they want to swing for 5 or something, I'll get out of that. But if they want to swing everything into like my Lin, my 7 cost, I'm probably getting out of it. Because I can get out of 13K with that. Right? I can get out of 12K, I guess, because I can get to 13. So, yeah, really good stuff here. Katakuri is just a real treat to play, guys, because I do enjoy my yellow. I know some people might not like that. Everyone's got the color they don't like in the game. I get it. But, excuse me. But, guys, I started playing the game in OP02. I missed the first set. I just didn't know about the game really yet. I didn't know anything about it at that point. But I finally got into the game in OP02 when black got into the game, and that was my favorite color because it was the new color, and it was considered very underpowered back then. And then yellow came out, and it was even more underpowered, or it was around the same, like, underpowered level back then. But, you know, my oh my, how things have changed, right? Yellow's considered very, very strong now, and so is black. The game's gotten to a pretty decent balance, but that'll be a topic for another day. How balanced is the meta and stuff like that, like currently. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and check out the deck list, guys. I will have to load these in real quick for us. Let me move my face over. Yeah, there we go. So the first one we'll go over to is what did we do first? Kaido. We'll check out Kaido first. I think I just called it P Kaido for purple Kaido. There's so many different Kaidos now. Elemento P. Got to say my alphabet out loud. Y'all give me just a moment. P Kaido basic. So for like the basic starter deck Kaido. So here it is, guys. I'll read through it real quick. So I'm running 4 X-Drake, 4 Arbol. I think it's Albert. I thought it was Albert. I don't know. Maybe it's Arbol. 4 Arbol, 4 King, 4 Pudding, 4 Lin, 4 Black Maria, 4 Ulti. I still love the Ulti plus page 1 combo, guys. It's like if you can do it, why not? It just gives you so much tempo. 3 of the Kaido. The 2 3-ofs in the deck instead of a 4 and a 2 for like the final 50 cards exactly. I run 3 Kaido and 3 Blast Breath. You could go 4 Blast Breath and maybe 2 Kaidos. That's up to you. But I kind of like having the 3 and 3 there. I think it's a pretty nice balance, like an offensive plus defensive package balance at the end. 4 Queens, 4 page 1, 4 we're going to claim the One Piece, the event, and then, like I said, 3 Blast Breath, and then 4 Onigashima Island. This list was pretty good, guys. I'm not going to lie. Like it was nothing crazy. Don't misunderstand. It was nothing crazy, but it was pretty solid. It felt pretty good. It had a decent amount of removal, right? Where you have like the Kaido Linlins later in the game and the Kaido, or the Kaido Linlin, excuse me, the 9-cost Linlin and the 9-cost Kaido. It has ways to make them trash cards. And I like what this character does. Pause and read this. I'll read it for any of the more auditory learners. Activate main. You may place this character in your trash if your leader has Animal Kingdom Pirates type and you have 10 Dawn. Play up to 1 cost 7 or less character from your hand. I don't know. Is that correct? Oh yeah, excuse me. I was gonna say, wait. I thought your opponent had to have 5 or more Dawn, but that's the King's effect. So again, if you're, I guess there's like a combo you can do if you have like 2 of these guys on the board and 2 of these guys in your hand. You could try to do something there. But honestly, I was just trying to play this out, and if they're going to ignore it, well, then I'm going to punish them later by playing this out for, a 3 Dawn discount, which is massive. So, And actually, it's even more than that, right? Because if this character's already on the board and they're just ignoring it, then I can really punish them later. But yeah, this is a... I think it's a very cool card. I think this is a very cool card, but it's definitely... If I were to make any revisions, this is the first card that I would cut. Just because everything else kind of has a very specific thing that it does in the deck. We know what Black Maria does. We know what 9-Lin does. 9-cost Kaido. 2k counter X-Drake. 2k counter ulti. I already said Black Maria. The page 1 with the ulti. Queen. Like, everything kind of already does what it does. But this is the one card that's a little gimmicky in my opinion. But it was a nice little 4-cost card to throw out if I needed it. But I could definitely see this card going for something else. Maybe like the other king. I think it's the 6-cost king. Let me go to it real quick. This one. Yeah. I could actually see this card right here. Cost of 7 or less. That's funny. It can actually cheat this card out too, can it? But the thing is, you have to have 10 Dawn in order to do it. And that's just... It's just not practical for what we're trying to do. So anyway, I could see this card actually just fully being dropped from the list and going up this card, which will help with your matchups that have to deal with 4-cost characters like Doflamingo. Or even another event is possible, like the new, what is it? It's 6 Dawn. Where is it? Here it is. Hakai Ocean Sovereignty. This would probably be another really solid card for you to add to the list and try out. 6 cost, but Dawn -2, guys, and it doesn't have a trigger. Oof, that just hurts, but it pops 2 6 or less characters, which is really good. Okay, well, that's it for this list. Let's go ahead and hop over. This one was a lot of fun, guys. I definitely recommend trying this if you haven't tried out this purple Kaido in a while. Okay, so next up, I think we did Bello Betty. Okay, let's check out Bello Betty. I think I call this one Bad Bello Betty. I think that's the name of this deck. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So this is what I was running for the last game there. Actually, hang on. The last game was Katakuri. The middle game, the second to last game, the one in the middle there. Bello Betty, this is the list I was running. This is not like a super updated list. I've been running this one for a while. There have been Bello Betty decks that have gotten a top 16 or top 32 recently. So the list is definitely starting to see a pretty good amount of play. And I think the version other people are running is probably a little better than this. This is just a very basic version, running a little bit of trigger support, excuse me, and then just a full Revo army package, and even a little bit of rush support with Kid and Killer. But yeah, really solid. This list works really well, and I'm sure there's better lists out there you can check out on OnePieceTopDecks.com, but I'm not going to read through this one. This one's just very straightforward. Okay, and then last but not least, let's go ahead and head over to Kata. Okay, and like I said, this was my buddy Richard's deck list for Katakuri, so that's why it's called that. Big shout out to my buddy Richard. Thanks for hitting me up or hooking me up with this list. It was really, really solid. Really good stuff here. But yeah, we got this one's very straightforward. I will at least run through this one. 4 Pudding, 4 Parasparrow, 4 Linlin. That's just absolutely standard. If you're running a Big Mom Pirates list with a Big Mom Pirates leader and that's not in there, I've got questions, right? I've got so many questions. Running 1 Katakuri, 4 Capone Gangbage, 4 Sanji, 4 Satori, 4 Onami, 3 Kikanojo, 4 Nami, and check this out, guys, some spice here, 2 S-Snakes, okay? 3 Charlotte Linlin, 4 of the Brûlée, Charlotte Brûlée, 3 You're the One Who Should Disappear, and then 2 Soul Pocus. Again, more spice. Here's the nice thing about running the Nami now in any yellow deck, in pretty much any yellow deck where you're focusing on triggers. Well, Soul Pocus, number one, if it's in your life, it's just insane value, right? If it's in your life, the value is incredible. But, okay, let's say you draw it later in the game. Okay, that's pretty annoying. Well, what you could do is use it to use your Nami effect, right? You can trash a card with trigger to pop a 5 or less. Or, let's just say you have something like a Parasparrow from your trigger, or a Sanji, or a Satori. No problem. We'll just use the Soul Pocus as, you know, fodder for that, just to trash it to play them out, so... Or, I mean, you can always just play it on curve as well. You can always just play it on curve. So, really cool stuff here. All right, guys, that's it. I'm done. I'm done yapping for today. Thank you guys for putting up with me. I really appreciate it. Whoop, that's not the right one. There we go. I appreciate you guys putting up with me. But here we go. Let's go ahead and knock this out real quick. Thank you to everybody who supports the channel, guys, whether you're liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, viewing, whatever you're doing. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. The channel's been growing like crazy, and I really want to keep it that way. And again, I just really appreciate each and every one of you guys. Big shout out to the VV Pirates playmat supporters. I hope you guys are enjoying those playmats. This came out awesome. And then, of course, last but not least, the VV Pirates patron page. Thank you guys so much to supporting me financially the way you do, just donating to me to help out. I really, really am grateful for that. Thank you guys so much. Keeping the dream alive. Keeping the dream alive. All right, guys, I'm done. Hope you all enjoyed. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, do not hesitate to put them in the comment section below. I try to get to those as soon as possible. And, yeah, I think that's it. All right, guys, till next time. Peace.